आपका स्टार्ट हो गया सर।
ओके।
अब मैं स्टॉप रिकॉर्डिंग कर सकता हूँ।
आप सभी को नमस्कार। जैसा कि आप सभी को पता, आज हमारे शिवरामकृष्ण सर का सेशन आज होने वाला माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट पे। तो सर का आप सर पूरी विवा टीम की ओर से आपका स्वागत है सर। सर का इंट्रोडक्शन, सर हमारे रामकृष्ण मिशन गुरुग्राम में एक डिवोटी के रूप में कार्य कर रहे हैं सर, और इसके साथ साथ में ही सर हमारे गीता प्रेस गोरखपुर में भी सर डिवोटी के रूप में कार्य कर रहे हैं। तो ये हम सभी के लिए बहुत ही प्राउड का मोमेंट है सर। थैंक यू सो मच सर। हम सभी की ओर से आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आज के सेशन में हम सर प्रणाम मंत्र के साथ सेशन आपको हैंड ओवर करेंगे। तो सब हम सभी मिलकर प्रणाम मंत्र स्टार्ट करेंगे। ओम नमः श्री अतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूर्य सच्चित सुख स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम श्री राम कृष्ण। थैंक यू सर। थैंक यू सभी को। और टू यू सर प्लीज।
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. How many of you have seen the presentation? So
I have seen fully.
I'm just seeing 5, 6, 7. Okay. I just thought I will take a question and answer rather than running the presentation. Maybe initial 10-15 minutes में शुरू में क्या इसमें लिखा हूँ वो समझा देता हूँ, उसके बाद हम क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर में चले जाएं। ये बेहतर होंगे, ताकि लोगों के दिमाग में डाउट ज्यादा रहते हैं इसमें, rather than इसमें कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है, सिर्फ समझने की बात है। इसलिए मैं जल्दी इसको खत्म कर लेता हूँ, then we can get into question and answer. पहली चीज है कि माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट के समझना बहुत जरूरी है। व्हाट इज माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट? क्योंकि ये बहुत अलग अलग लेवल पे होता है। जैसे हम सब, मोस्ट ऑफ यू आर मैरिड और हैव किड्स ऑफ योर सिस्टर्स एंड ब्रदर्स। आप देखेंगे तो अपने बच्चे के हम गाइड करते हैं, वो माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट है, और वो जरूरी है बिकॉज दैट इज हाउ वो चलते हैं। लेकिन किसी लेवल के बाद आपको एक दूसरे को समझने की जरूरत पड़ता है, एंड यू नीड टू गिव अ स्पेस कि एक दूसरा ऑपरेट करें। उसके हिसाब से इसको डेफिनेशन समझ लें, इसका इम्पैक्ट समझ लें, उसके बाद उसको फायदा और नुकसान क्या है समझ लें, तो देन इट बिकम्स इजियर। कैन यू गो टू नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, Ravi? I think who is running the presentation?
Ravi is running.
सर फोन कर।
या अब क्विक रिफ्लेक्शन करें हम, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ यू कहीं ना कहीं काम करके यहाँ पर आए हैं, बहुत कम लोग हैं, ये पहली नौकरी है। और इवन जो पढ़कर आए हैं उनको भी अपने क्लासेस में हम देखे होंगे। ओके, आप अपने आप सोचें, हु इज द बेस्ट मैनेजर जिसके साथ आपने काम किया है, और ऑल्सो हु इज द वर्स्ट वन और मोस्ट कंट्रोलिंग वन। इन दोनों की स्थिति में, सिचुएशन में आपके ऊपर क्या असर पड़ा? Anybody wants to tell a story? If nobody, दूसरी एंगल में आप सोचें, जैसे हम हमारे मैनेजर्स की बात कर रहे हैं, हम भी नीचे किसी को मैनेज करते हैं। वो मैनेज करना मतलब ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ आप नौकरी में कर रहे हैं, आप कहीं गाड़ी लेके कहीं जा रहे हो, आप उबर में जा रहे हो और ओला में जा रहे हो, उसको ड्राइवर के साथ आप संभाल करते हो, आप अपने घर पे सर्वेंट मेड्स आते हैं, उनके साथ आप इंटरैक्ट करते हो। सो आप अपने आप तुलें कि जो चीज आप पसंद कर रहे हो, नहीं कर रहे हो मैनेजर के साथ, आपका बिहेवियर नीचे के कैसे रहा। क्योंकि हम सब दोनों, हमारे पास राइट हैंड भी है, लेफ्ट हैंड भी है। जब राइट हैंड में देखते हो, लेफ्ट हैंड में हम हमेशा भूल जाते हैं। सो जैसे हम देखने चाहेंगे, सो सिंस यू सिट इन बोथ द चेयर्स, हाउ डज इट योर स्टोरीज टीच अस? ऑनेस्टली, ये अपने आप खुद की सोचे। मैं मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि सही गलत है, ये कह रहा हूँ कि हम सबको सोचने की जरूरत है. Arnav, you raised hand, then Shashi.
सर आपके क्वेश्चन से मैनेजर्स एंड हाउ डिड आई फील, आई हैव two categories. One is which I felt good, but in both those categories, those managers were highly criticized by others. That is something I wanted to discuss. Like while I was in West Bengal, one place, manager or boss, and one in Gujarat when I was. Those two leaders were so I mean non-controlling in the sense they were in their own worlds. हम क्या काम कर रहे हैं, नहीं कर रहे हैं, खा रहे हैं, सो रहे हैं, मर गए हैं, लड़ रहे हैं, और working tremendously. Nothing, there is no control there. He is not controlling. In two cases I have felt where I grew tremendously. I made mistakes. Maybe 6 months I slept, didn't do anything, but the next 6 months it was tremendous outpour of energy, and that developed me a lot. 1 second. And that impacted me tremendously. But those two people were criticized by others because he did not take care of people. That was the comment they used to say. He did not take care of the people under him, and they did money. But I grew tremendously in both cases. Seniors commented badly about them, but Kerala, every small thing, scrutiny, hating, complaining, suffocating, and he was considered very good.
I think इसलिए क्वेश्चन इम्पोर्टेंट है. हम बाकी क्या सोचते हैं इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट. आप अपना खुद क्या सोचते हो वो इम्पोर्टेंट है.
About that person,
about yourself, because every individual अपने स्टाइल जो भी सही हो गलत हो वो अलग है. हम उस स्टाइल के वजह से मेरा इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ है, जो उसमें जो गुड लर्निंग जो था उसको आप कैरी कैसे कर रहे हो, और बैड लर्निंग जो है उसको आप हाउ डू यू अवॉइड इन योर लाइफ, इन योर मैनेजमेंट. सो इट इज जनरली हम सब बहुत एक्सटर्नलाइज करना बहुत आसान है इन सब चीजों में. आप उसको इंटरनलाइज कैसे कर रहे हो, बिकॉज माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट वहीं से आता है. क्योंकि इसका दो साइड का पहलू है. एज वी गो डाउन यू विल अंडरस्टैंड इट. Because the micromanagement, in some places, it helps you to delegate even responsibilities. जब responsibility नहीं लेना चाहते हो तो micro managers become good, because मेरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, उसने जो बोला कर दी मैंने. लेकिन you are not taking responsibility, so you are not ready for the next. Okay, whereas is that a likable question or not is a different question. But this session में हम let's focus on खुद की focus करें. Suppose, Arnav, if you have learned something from the other two managers, how much are you implementing in your life with your subordinates or your people with whom you are working? वो बहुत जरूरी है.
This is a clear realization right now. I didn't learn anything from those managers. They were not role models for me.
That doesn't need to be a role model. यही तो that is a kubiyat, because micromanager का, I'm not saying that every person has to be your role model, but every interaction that you have which teaches you something. Two way of teaching. One way of teaching is what you learn from him to follow, what you learn from him not to follow. That's also learning.
Of course.
It's not that it is not learning, that's also learning. So how do you grab it and make that as a tool to self-evolve? उससे focus करें. That is why this reflection is all about. Shashi, you raised a hand. After that, Rita.
Yes, sir. मेरा एक एक्सपीरियंस है. मैं शुरू में जब पहला जॉब था मेरा, और मैं मोदी ग्रुप में काम कर रहा था। वहाँ एक हमारे मैनेजर थे सुनील मुटरेजा। मतलब मेरा बैड एक्सपीरियंस तो नहीं रहा किसी के साथ, उनके साथ एक अलग एक्सपीरियंस रहा। वो काफ़ी प्रोफेशनल थे और हमारे ब्रांच में हम 3 लोग थे जो बहुत मतलब जिनका परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा था, लेकिन वो इतना प्रोफेशनल थे कि वो हम ही तीनों को एक्सप्लॉइट करते थे। तो शुरू में मेरे ऊपर जो उसका प्रभाव पड़ा, मुझे लगा कि ये आदमी बहुत अच्छा नहीं है और ये आदमी अपने फायदे के लिए हम लोगों को एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे हैं। सुबह 6 बजे बुला लेते थे, रात को 8 बजे अपने घर बुलाते थे, ऐसा करते थे कि मतलब एकदम से। लेकिन जैसे जैसे उनके अंडर में मैं काम किया और वो अपने संघर्ष को उन्होंने हम लोगों के सामने रखा, अपने घर पे बुला के, कि मैंने ऐसे 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 संघर्ष करके और फिर आज यहाँ पहुँचा हूँ। तो धीरे धीरे उनका प्रभाव मेरे ऊपर अच्छा पड़ने लग गया और मेरे काम में भी थोड़ा चेंज आ गया। और हम तीनों लोग जो पहले उनके बारे में हमेशा गलत सोचते थे, उन तीनों लोगों का पूरा परसेप्शन ही चेंज हो गया और वो हमारे पर्सनालिटी पे भी बहुत उसका फर्क पड़ा। अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो बहुत दिन तक हम लोग जॉब नहीं कर पाए, वो वहाँ रहे नहीं, वो चले गए। उसके बाद हम लोगों ने भी जॉब छोड़ दिया था, प्राइवेट जॉब था मोदी ग्रुप में। तो मैनेजर का प्रभाव तो होता है सर, अगर वो इफेक्टिव है, प्रोफेशनल है, वो हार्ड वर्क भी कराता है, फिर भी आदमी पॉजिटिव रहता है अगर वो उसका खुद का वो खुद इंटीग्रेटेड है और ऑनेस्ट है अपने काम के लिए। तो
अच्छी बात है। रीता।
यस सर, मैं अपने जीवन की वेस्ट अब तक जितनी देखी है, मैं वेस्ट मैनेजर बोलना चाहूंगी हमारी कॉलेज की प्रिंसिपल माता जी को। वो अपने काम को लेके इतना फोकस, इतना एक्यूरेट होते थे, उनके अंदर एक्यूरेसी इतना ज्यादा होता था। सब लोग बहुत चिढ़ जाते थे कि नहीं, इतना ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस क्यों कराते थे। जैसे अर्नब सर ने बोला कि नेगेटिव साइड भी होता है, हाँ, बहुत चिढ़ जाते थे। लेकिन जब आउटकम आता था ना, तब इतना अच्छा आता था आउटकम। सब लाइक लास्ट में बोलते थे यही तो चाहिए था, यही चाहिए था। तो मैं उनसे सीखती हूँ कि वो डेफिनेटली एक गुड लीडर है और हम भी उनके तरह अपने काम में फोकस, प्यार, एक्यूरेसी से कर सकते हैं। हम अपने काम को आगे ले जा सकते हैं।
थैंक यू। रजनी।
Yes, Mr. Sivaraman, it's a very interesting topic you have taken. So I would like to say, जब हम लोग माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की बात करते हैं, तो जो भी माइक्रो मैनेज कर रहा है, चाहे वो मैनेजर है या आपका बॉस है, आपका लीडर है, या हम लोग घर में अगर किसी को, अपने स्टाफ को, डोमेस्टिक को कर रहे हैं, I think it all depends upon the attitude and mindset of the person who is indulging in micromanage. अगर आपका एटीट्यूड है, लुक, आई वांट टू हेल्प समबडी, आई वांट टू हेल्प समबडी टू लर्न द टास्क, टू लर्न द एक्टिविटीज एंड टू ग्रो, then to initial time to let the person understand the task and perform is very good. But I have seen managers, I have seen our seniors, who micromanage because of their own insecurity. It is a mindset problem. I want to micromanage. I want to check somebody so that the other person should not go out of my control. Many people I have seen in organizations that I have worked with have lot of this, insecurity, and they want to control other people. They're the control freaks. And now it is happening. People are working virtual platform. People are working from home. And they are burnt out because they are being micromanaged throughout the day. Please give a report by evening, give a report by the next day morning. So micromanagement has a lot of flaws. And secondly, I would like to relate to what Arnab said, a very interesting dimension. Then when he was in Gujarat and Kerala, he really grew. I think here the point of intrinsic motivation comes up. Because Arnab case, I'm sure his intrinsic motivation was so high that even if he was micromanaged or not micromanaged, you just let yourself grow. So these were the dimensions, Mr. Sivarama. I wanted to give my this thing.
Thank you. Geeta ma'am.
Yes, with regard to this micromanagement, actually, sir, this word I came across when my younger son was facing this problem. So he said that, Mama, I am an IIT graduate and I know my work and everything is fine. But this, he was working in Delhi. So after going from Mumbai, he applied for one job in Delhi. So he said, these guys are micromanaging me and I'm not liking it. So I said, Naren, you change your attitude. Maybe perhaps. So bola, nahi, mummy, you're not understanding. If I'm breathing also, if somebody is behind me, I will not. So I said, maybe perhaps because as parents, we have never micromanaged you. So you are feeling that way. Okay, so give them some chance and, change your attitude also. But then, Naren just left that company and he joined some Payol in Bangalore because he said नहीं ऐसे काम नहीं चलेगा मैंने अब मुझे समझ आ रहा है रजनी मैम बोल रही है they get threatened and they are insecure that is why they were micromanaging Naren. I think so. I'm now feeling this situation what Rajni ma'am shared.
Yeah, I think Ramanan wrote something. I can't.
I can read it for you. So generally, I was looking at the Google to find out some details on this, and it says in general, this micromanagement is bad. It says actually in general. Of course, there can be one or two specific examples, as your own slide said, some critical scenarios, or as you brought some parenting, but in general it says it's something bad and people quit the micromanagers is what a general opinion is. So I was wondering why at all the discussion on a topic which is considered as something generally as something bad and where people quit. So that was my observation.
Man, it's a very interesting topic, but let's move on to the next slide. We will come back. Rajni, you have something to say? Sorry.
Yeah. Because Mr. Ramana mentioned about Google, Mr. Ramana, the whole Google's ethos are laissez-faire style of management, which is laissez-faire is totally opposite of micromanagement. And there, the guy who comes with the mindset of micromanagement cannot survive. So Google has a totally an open ethos work culture. But thank you. This is turning to be a very interesting discussion.
So now I come to the real definition of micromanagement. Because Pooja ma'am very nicely mentioned her son is from IIT. Okay, so the reason why I'm just emphasizing here is the definition is that where the management style, where the control is applied at a level of detail far beyond what the task or the person requires. It is not a standard definition. Today, I might have just joined. I may require instruction to the T, but somebody would be 10 years in Viva. They may not require that kind of an instruction. So the question is the two dimension to that. One is, what is the level of control that you want to exhibit on for the task? Second is that what is the level, the person's requirements. It means that the manager needs to change his style of managing based on both, not one. So he has to have a boutique of skills he applies to the situation. Okay, so that's one. What it also means that you start focusing on what, don't direct on how. Micromanagers direct on how. That is where the biggest problem arises. Whereas if you are able to focus on just on what and leave it, then the other person's best out of the other person can come out of it. Okay. The key nuance is involvement is not a micromanagement. We should not think that no, just for example, we are working on Viva, Maharaj should not get involved. That's not a micromanagement, because Maharaj may get involved, as an example I'm sharing, okay, or will get involved for carrying, checking, and then the highest standards are maintained and it is healthy, whatever. These are the kind of things that are healthy. Okay. But where the problem comes in is that you start putting together, your degree of control is disproportionate to the situation or undermine the skill of other person. Okay. So these are the two important things. Some signs could be that, the manager keeps asking, get an approval from me for every small decision, or keep me updated on daily, weekly, hourly, whatever. You do something and send it to the manager, and manager redo everything, okay, the way he wanted it. Or many of us keep people out of the loop, then they get discomforted. Why am I not being kept in loop? These are the sign of examples of the micromanagement. But most important thing is, you have to exert level of control that is driven by the task and also based on the skills of the other person. Okay, you should not be going to the kitchen and teaching a chef how to cook. You may go and tell him what to cook, but leave the how to him. Just as an example, I'm just sharing. So this becomes a basis for you to analyze. That is the reason why some manager who is a micromanager for one person could be a great manager for the other person, or a good manager for certain task becomes a very bad manager for others. So this is just a broad definition which I just thought I'll place it. Does it sound all right? Any comments? Can you move to the next slide? Okay. Also, that you have to understand, this problem of this micromanagement is not one-sided. No, most of the time, your ability to engage comes with a mutual trust. Okay, because none of us really wanted to do other person's task. But as a manager, I have a fear that other person's task will not be up to my expectations. So what do? So I actually do a risk management. That's a counter way. Okay. So it has to be something which you need to manage both the ways. If I really go and look at it in a perspective, I thought, give you some examples of micromanagement and what is delegated well. The report. For example, your zonal managers or, implementation manager or somebody on the top rewrites your report entirely, line by line, into their own words. Meaning may be the same, but you wanted to write on your own. That's a micromanagement. What is delegated well? You just share the goal, and the one things must be true and reacts to the draft as is. I give my own example. When I was in PwC, I had a philosophy that no review report I will rewrite. Once I had 36 times somebody to, reproduce the presentation. On 36th time, I accepted it. Okay, let's proceed. Not because of, I wanted to do it, but I want him to learn. That guy just moved, passed out of IIT Kanpur and joined us. And we were working together on a presentation. I made him to make a presentation first time. I didn't give slide by slide. Each time when he comes, I kept on improving. 36th time I approved it. But after that, he was with me for 6 years. Then he moved. Even now I'm in touch with him. So after that, I don't need to even touch him. So that is what is example. So you set a goal, share a goal, allow the other person to keep drafting, because then you are making him to think, making him to come wholesome. It's an alternate way of doing it. You know, approvals, you ask everybody every time when somebody comes, you get it signed off. If there's no sign off, don't do anything. Is one way. Otherwise, that agree the standard once, then let the team shift within it. I mean, I can give my own experience in Viva. When I joined in January, first time I took 2 mails to Maharaj, what I wrote to some corporates for a funding. He has gone through it entirely. You know, then he made small changes here and there. And then the third mail, when I took him, he said, no, Shiva, now I know what your style is. I'm okay with that. Just go ahead, proceed. If there is anything which I'll handle it. This is an example. So you have to really think, where do you create these boundaries to operate on? Okay. If you go and give a specified check-ins on by day, by hour, you are micromanaging. Instead, if you give a checkpoint, you know what, do this by this time. Then you are not checking, you are not putting the checkpoint. Okay, so both are possible. So it just is example, because otherwise most of the time we get confused between the micromanagement or a delegation. One thing which you all need to understand, and all our experiences are driven with our perception. Okay, so if you like the person, then you have different perception versus if you don't like the person. So we generally don't look at objectively. So the question for us is that how do we bring in that objectivity and build that trust? Okay, most of us have our own personal views, but when it comes to work, we have certain standards. And we all think that this guy will do this way. Like, for example, Viva sent you all across India with the assumption that you guys reach that standard of delivery that is needed for FCP. Trained and sent you there. After that, nobody is coming and checking with you every day on every alternate day, you know, what you're doing in the classes or with the teachers. We may be thinking, how do we improve your skills? But just leaves there. That's a delegation. Vis-a-vis, if I start asking you, कि हर रोज मेरे को, you know, वीडियो बना के भेजो, मुझे देखना है. Okay, फिर that becomes the problematic. Is it clear? मनोज, बाइलिंगुअल मतलब मैं तमिल में भी बात कर सकता हूँ. अभी clear. Just go next slide, please.
सॉरी सर, बट सेशन बहुत अच्छा है, पर
ओके, किस जगह पे माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत भी है? आई थिंक जब चालू करते वक्त रजनी हैज मेंशन्ड किसी जगह पे जरूरत पड़ेगी, वो समझ लें. देन हम भी एडजस्ट करना पड़ता है. जो काम कर रहे हैं किसी मैनेजर के अंदर, उनको भी एडजस्ट करने की जरूरत पड़ता है. ऐसे नहीं कि सिर्फ मैनेजर्स को एडजस्ट करनी है. इट्स पॉसिबल आप नए ज्वाइन किए हो, विवा के बारे में नहीं जानते हो और कोर्स के बारे में नहीं जानते हो, कोई आके आपको माइक्रो मैनेज करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी. इन सम प्लेसेस जीरो एरर है. जैसे डॉक्टर ऑपरेशन थिएटर में कोई चांस नहीं है, उसको तो बिल्कुल 100% कंप्लायंस की जरूरत पड़ता है. हर प्रोसीजर टू बी टू द डॉट ऑफ व्हाट हैज बीन, यू नो, डिफाइंड, उसके हिसाब से करने की जरूरत पड़ता है. तो हमारे में, यू नो, एथिक्स की, हमारे जो लेवल ऑफ एथिक्स इन विवा हैज टू बी बाकियों से बहुत ऊपर होनी चाहिए. तो इसलिए जीरो एरर टास्क है. वहां पर शायद वो फाइनेंस है, सेफ्टी है, कभी कॉस्ट, वन मिस्टेक कुड बी वेरी कॉस्टली. नहीं करना चाहते तो देन माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत है. इन नॉर्मल बिजनेस वर्ड में हम यूज करते हैं, यू नो, 4 आईज. एक काम को एक आदमी नहीं करता है, 2 आदमी करता है. क्योंकि एक आदमी जो कर रहे हैं, दूसरा सुपरवाइज कर रहे हैं और एक्सचेंज करते रहे, उससे जीरो टास्क निकला देता है. ओके, उस जगह पे ये लाइव क्राइसिस हो जहां पर फास्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग लेना हो, एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हो, नया एक्सपीरियंस हो इस सिचुएशन में, उन जगहों पे आपको लाइव क्राइसिस हो, वहां पर आपको माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत है। और कहीं पे क्रिटिकल लॉन्च हो, जेन्युइनली कैन नॉट स्लिप, वहां पर भी आपको माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत है। सो ये क्यों दे रहा हूं, जैसे मैंने बोला है कि टास्क और आदमियों के हिसाब से मैनेजर को चेंज करनी है, वैसे ही जो सबऑर्डिनेट है, जो जो साथ काम कर रहे हैं, उनको भी चेंज होने की जरूरत है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द सिचुएशन। किसी किसी सिचुएशन में माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत पड़ेगी, उस समय आप ये ना सोचें मैनेज कर रहे हैं, साथ डिलीवर करें, ये भी जरूरत पड़ता है। कैन आई गो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड? ये क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट से और कंट्रोल से क्या नुकसान क्या होता है। ये नुकसान 3 लेवल पे मैं डिफाइन करने की कोशिश कर रहा था। एक तो है कि खुद के ऊपर हम सब भी लूज मोटिवेशन, हम अपने खुद का इनिशिएटिव कम होते जाएगा, ये सोचने लेंगे यार मैं कुछ भी करूं, ये तो खुद तो कुछ चेंज कर लेगा, खुद कर लेगा वो, तो अपवर्ड डेलीगेशन चालू कर देते हैं। हम क्रिएटिव नहीं रहेंगे क्योंकि हम हमेशा ये सोचते हैं यार मैनेजर को जो चाहिए सर वही दूं, क्योंकि क्योंकि देन यू आर रीचिंग द हाइट ऑफ लिमिटेशन ऑफ योर मैनेजर, क्योंकि जितने मैनेजर का स्किल है उतनी ही आप काम करोगे। वेरएस कोलैबोरेशन से प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ना है ना, दो आदमी एक आदमी के काम से दो आदमी के काम में वो कम हो जाता है। ओके, देन फाइनली हम सब वेट करते हैं, अच्छा नेक्स्ट क्या बोलेंगे, जो मैनेजर जो बोलेगा वही करूंगा। सो वेट करते रहो कि मैनेजर्स का इंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए। ओके, वो वो भी हो जाता है। सो ये सारे चीजें इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे नुकसान है। टीम सिचुएशन में क्या होता है, वी लर्न हेल्पनेस से सेट इन, बिकॉज हम सब हेल्पलेस रहते हैं जब तक टीम लीडर नहीं बोले तब तक हम कुछ नहीं करें। ओके, हम सब कोई भी ओनरशिप नहीं लेंगे, सिर्फ सारे ओनरशिप टीम लीडर ही लेने पड़ेंगे और उनका इंस्ट्रक्शन से काम करने से। ओके, फाइनली जो मैडम ने जो बात किया है, जो टैलेंटेड पीपल क्वाइटली विल लीव, बिकॉज उनको काम ये नहीं लड़ते रहो, वो छोड़ के चले जाएगा। मैनेजर्स के ऊपर क्या होता है, वो ओवरलोड हो जाता है, वो सोचते हैं सारे सारे के टीम बेकार है, मुझे ही सारे काम करना पड़ रहा है, मुझे ही इसको टिक करना है, एंड देन ही बिकम्स अ बॉटलनेक। एक चीज तो हम सबको समझनी चाहिए कि ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं थोड़ा एक्सपीरियंस हूं तो मैं सब जानता हूं, वो तो नहीं है। देयर आर सिचुएशंस मैनेजर्स भी सीखते हैं, उस सिचुएशन में उनको जो इनएक्सपीरियंस बिकम्स द बॉटलनेक। वेयरएज वो पॉसिबल है विद इन द टीम somebody is more experienced. ओके, कोई रियल टाइम स्ट्रेटजी नहीं बनता है क्योंकि एवरीवन फॉलोज द लीडर। ओके, सो द बेस्ट टीम इन जनरल, आई मीन आई थिंक मैं किसी और सेशन में एक्सप्लेन कर रहा था, आप हमेशा सोचते रहें द बेस्ट लीडर मैनेजर इज द वन जो मोस्ट टैलेंटेड पर्सन को आगे चलाए। ओके, इसलिए मैं एग्जांपल हमेशा देता हूं कि इफ यू सीन द फुटबॉल टीम्स, इट्स स्टैटिस्टिक्स, ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी सही स्कूल ऑफ मैनेजमेंट ने रिसर्च करके बताया 70% ऑफ द फुटबॉल टीम्स कैप्टन्स were the midfield or forwards. They are not the strikers. Whereas strikers की वजह से टीम जीतते हैं। हम आजकल का फुटबॉल का सीजन है ना, कुछ चल रहा है ना, हीरो एशिया कप व्हाटएवर। ओके, सो फेम किसको मिलता है? द स्ट्राइकर्स को। दे आर द मोस्ट टैलेंटेड टू गेट द टास्क डन, टू गेट अ गोल, टू विन अ टीम, बट दे आर नॉट टैलेंटेड टू लीड अ टीम। सो टीम लीडर का ये खूबी होनी चाहिए जिससे आपको मोस्ट टैलेंटेड को आगे चलाएं, उनसे काम कराएं। उनका इंटरेस्ट है कि सक्सेस द टीम, नॉट पर्सनल फेम। not controlling those guys, the strikers, to keep them not to hit a goal. इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है इस चेन ऑफ डैमेज समझना, हम हमारे रोल को अच्छी तरह से समझ लें। मैनेजर्स का रोल ये नहीं है कि मैं डिलीवर करूं, मैनेजर का रोल ये है कि मैं डिलीवर कराऊं। ये फर्क है, मैंने डिलीवर किया वर्सेस मैंने डिलीवर करवाया। जो मैंने डिलीवर किया मतलब टीम मेंबर है, स्ट्राइकर है, मैंने डिलीवर करवाया का मतलब कैप्टन है, वही फर्क है। कैन यू गो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। Why it is important also that एक और चीज हम सबको समझने की बहुत जरूरी है। दो व्यक्ति के बीच में ट्रस्ट तब बनते हैं जब म्यूचुअल रेस्पेक्ट हो। बिना म्यूचुअल रेस्पेक्ट का ट्रस्ट बन सकता है? तो इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि जब हम हर एक दूसरे के साथ समझ लें, एंड जब माइक्रो मैनेज करने लगेंगे तो लोग ट्रस्ट नहीं करेंगे एक दूसरे से, बिकॉज मैनेजर इज माइक्रो मैनेजिंग, इसलिए कि वो नीचे वाले को ट्रस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं। ओके, नीचे वाला काम नहीं कर रहा है इसलिए कि मैनेजर ट्रस्ट नहीं कर रहा है। सो इट्स डबल वैमी इफेक्ट हो जाता है ना। तो इसलिए इन ऑर्डर फॉर पीपल टू ग्रो वी कैन नॉट इंसिस्ट कंट्रोल हाउ दे ग्रो, यू हैव टू लेट इट ग्रो। आप ये सोचिए, धरती में जितने भी प्लांट जो जंतु जो आए हैं, इन सबको ग्रोथ को दो चीज की जरूरत है। एक तो है कि सन लाइट, दूसरा ऑक्सीजन एयर, है कि नहीं? दे आर द सोर्स ऑफ आवर लाइफ। कभी ये दोनों, तीसरा है कि अर्थ। अब सोचिए तीनों कभी हमें कंट्रोल करते हैं, तुम ऐसे ही ग्रो करना चाहिए। No, they let it go, but they keep supplying. Managers are like oxygen, earth, or a sun. Your job is to feed them with energy, and the individuals will grow on themselves. Okay, वो बहुत जरूरी है, हम इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है। When you go to next slide, please. ये मैंने चालू करते वक्त ही बताया, हम सब जो चीज मैं बोल रहा हूं वो आप दोनों तरफ के आप लेवल, हम राइट हैंड में भी काम करता है, लेफ्ट हैंड में साइड भी काम करता है। कहीं पे आप टीम मेंबर हो, कहीं पे आप मैनेजर हो। आप अपने आप को खुद सोचें, जो चीज आप एज अ टीम मेंबर पसंद नहीं करते हो, एज अ मैनेजर करते हो नहीं करते हो। सो एंड देन वी आर जस्टिफाइंग इट। तो इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हम सब अपने आप इवॉल्व होके आ जाएं। इट इज नॉट अबाउट व्हाट योर मैनेजर इज, इट इज अबाउट हाउ गुड यू आर and how well you are preparing yourself to become manager. इसलिए बहुत जरूरी है कि इंटरनल इवॉल्व हो जाए। जब इंटरनली इवॉल्व होने लगेंगे तो दूसरा भी उसका इफेक्ट पड़ता है, वो भी चेंज हो जाता है। कैन यू गो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। Okay, this is another slide of the same. I'm not going to talk on the same thing again, but it just gives you some instances. Okay, how do you really manage both the sides? If I see a manager's mirror, I find it hard to let others to do tasks I can do faster myself. If you are a team member, I start work before I'm sure I understand the goal. So you put every situation yourself, you may be able to get better result. Okay, and you have to be honest in both columns. If you're honest, then reflect, you can rate yourself, and then that gives you an idea where do you stand. ये तो आपके लिए मैं ये स्लाइड बनाया है, इसमें ये नहीं कि कोई मैनेजमेंट थियरी है। इसमें ये है कि आप जब आप टीम मेंबर हो, कैसे आप अपने मैनेजर के साथ एंगेज रखते हो, क्लैरिटी लेते हो, और इफ आप मैनेजर हो, आप कैसे दूसरों को इंस्ट्रक्शन देते हो, हाउ डू यू ट्रस्ट आपका टीम मेंबर का, हाउ डू यू हेल्प देम टू ग्रो? Okay, you can rate yourself later. I'm not, not for this now, but can take a view. Go next slide. I'm just trying to give you 5 tools. It is purely based on my own experiences. There's no management theory. It is, in fact, I wrote this in one of the column, in Viva, they asked me to write. The first is that you have to match the style to the person. And it is not that you can do one. If it's a beginner, you can give a direct a beginner, coach, and then support, then fully delegate, because see them growing. Based on the growth, you delegate. Okay, the second rule is very important. Don't believe that other person is going to give 100%. Okay, आप ये लिखें 70% वो बंदा कर सकते हैं, कॉम्पिटेंस हो तो डेलीगेट कर लो, 30% वो सीख लेगा, वो ट्रस्ट करो. So you can always know what is 70-30 rule. This is something which I applied in my life all along. It's not mine. There is a partner in PwC in 95, 96 when I started working. It was just getting privatized. A lot of consulting work which was coming through. हम सबके पास एक्सपीरियंस होते नहीं थे. ओके, हम हर बार जाते थे, हर बार जाके बोलते थे वो पार्टनर, ओके हाउ कॉन्फिडेंट आर यू? 70%. अच्छा, 30% risk I am willing to take. You will learn. 70% confidence. Okay, tell me why you are confident. Oh, 2-3 minutes समझा दूं, अपने approach बताऊं. If he likes it, he says, go ahead, do it. So this 70-30 rule is something which it's very close to my heart. I do it often with my people with whom I work. I've learned it from somebody. Yes, Arnab.
Sir, if the risk is far more than 30%, what do you think should be the stance if you have to work?
Go to the first one.
Match the style
Yeah.
to the person, direct a beginner, coach. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Then support.
Makes sense. So, but that won't be considered as micromanagement. Understood.
That's then you have to be clear, no?
Yes.
The importance is that how do you make other person to be clear? Okay.
Thank you.
Delegate outcomes, not methods. It's very important. If you start delegating, ये काम करके लेकर आ जाओ, वो काम करके लेकर आ जाओ, इतनी छोटा टास्क करके लेकर आ जाओ, then the other person is just doing a clerical work for you. You are not allowing him to learn. Instead, if you delegate, यार मुझे आज शाम तक ये मेल चले जानी चाहिए, ये लो information, get it done. Then the other person work on it. You're okay, because success criteria is शाम तक मेल जाना है. Okay, I want this input or that input. Then other person can modify whatever he does it. But you delegated it well. So you always delegate the outcome, not the methods. Is that clear? Arnav, you raised hand.
So, question may sound repetitive, but require a validation rather. Suppose you delegated and it didn't happen, and your instinct told it might have a challenge. So, just to clarify, the next step would be to coach, right? Groom and coach. Few days back, I was discussing something with you regarding this in the evening, where my first step was also micromanagement, you told. Seeing the slide today morning when I was seeing, I was wondering, was that coaching that I was doing? Because my instinct told the other person won't be, and I want, because that was a high stake thing, because it's part of internal training. How do I understand?
It is not your instinct. It is about the other person's instinct. Look, most of the micromanagers micromanage because their instinct says that this other person can't do. The basic foundation for that is your instinct, the manager's instinct. It is not about manager's instinct, it's about the other person's instinct. If the other
This
person says
70,
that I will do, then
oh,
you should trust.
uh,
That is the difference.
the 70% rule requires initial maturity to understand my instinct.
Ask a question.
Great.
No, are you okay? Will you be able to do?
Then makes sense.
Then you ask a question. That is, you have a right to ask a question, but don't put in your back of your mind that this guy can't do. But I give it to him and then I keep going back and chipping in. Acha kya hua batao, acha kya hua batao, acha kya hua batao. That is micromanagement. Whereas you ask a question, are you comfortable in working on it? If he says yes, okay, then it's okay. Then if you want,
then I should be willing.
ask a question.
Then I should be willing to pay the 30% risk.
Yes. No, further you can ask a question. Okay, how will you go about doing it? Just let me understand.
Now
That's okay. Ask
yes.
a question before delegating. That's okay, but don't go on poke after giving. That's the difference.
This reminds me, of one of the teachings of our learnings of our ACP. Sir, it says that when we start and we ask the experience of the teachers, we ask them, we say now that each one of us has that infinite source of energy, power, and goodness within us, right? So, still, if the teacher sees the child as not having all this, or so how does it change their behavior? What is their attitude of looking at the other person? मतलब अगर आप ये नहीं देख रहे हो कि इसके पास इनफाइनाइट एनर्जी है, गुडनेस है, इनफाइनाइट स्ट्रेंथ है, तो आप अगर ऐसा नहीं देखते हैं तो बिहेवियर में क्या फर्क आता है? तो वही आप अभी चर्चा कर रहे हैं सर. तो मैं इमीडिएटली मुझे कनेक्शन हो गया कि आप ये कह रहे हैं कि डू यू हैव द ट्रस्ट इन द अदर पर्सन. Okay, it is your instinct that, okay, you can do it. I know that. That 30% will be taken care of. 70% is my attitude. Yare, he's a youngster, he's an engineer, he's a graduate. I have faith, he will manage. Girega, padega, kar lega. Okay. So there is a guidance from my side. So as a manager, I'm going to guide him or her. So I think, so I could just connect that, with my program.
Yeah. And the other one is checkpoints, not interruptions. Agree with the other person when are you going to, check it out, or you pre-agree. This is the checkpoint on which I want you to come and tell me. Either way, okay. And then the rhythm replaces anxious random check-ins, because once you have rhythm, this anxious, because most of our check-ins are due to anxiety. अच्छा वो बंदा कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है. Simple example. I mean, I keep sitting on a floor. I given some important task to someone. If that guy turns around and speaks to the other person on something else, I'm very anxious. The other person knows that मैं करके दे दूंगा, but मैं बैठ कर यार ये मेरा काम नहीं कर रहा है, किसी से बात कर रहा है, टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा है, और किसी के साथ लगे हुए हैं. So many things. So the question is, if you want to revive your anxiety, reduce your anxiety, the best thing is that set a rhythm of, check in upfront. अच्छा मैं फ्राइडे दोबारा बात करता है, फ्राइडे तक एक काम कर ले, फ्राइडे तक इस स्टेटस को अपडेट कर दो, ताकि अदर पर्सन नोस मेरे को ये टास्क है. Last but not the least, catch the instinct. Okay, whenever you wanted to jump, simple question to ask: is it about the work or my own anxiety? Many times it's possible that our anxiety is leading for a catch up rather than the work. Then you avoid anything that you double check. It cuts you off, because first instinct for all of us is to jump. So catch that instinct. Post this question back in your head. Many times you will avoid even going after micromanaging it. See, these are the 5 simple things which I thought could be very useful. Again, it's not from any business book or any theory. It is my practical experience with which I'm talking about it. Okay, can you go to next slide, please? Okay, so this is a very typical consultant slide. I just wanted to put it together. Nobody can go back and say that overnight anybody can change. The way it works is that when it is new learning, you always will direct. When you are building a skill on other person, you coach, you guide and explain. When the other person has reached the maturity, then you support. When the other person is ready, you should just delegate and let them own it, you move on. After that, you don't even need to check. Okay, by default it happens. Okay, so these are the 4 levels that you can move on: direct, coach, support, and delegate. Okay, it's more about how do you grow step by step, or help your subordinate to grow, team member to grow, both the ways. Can you go to next slide, please? Does it mean that the leaders are loose? Like Arnab started to say that these managers not even bother. Kya karta? Manmani karta. Which word that he has used. Okay, so it is not that you have to be completely loose. Okay, you have to be tight on outcomes and success criteria. You have to have that full vision, idea, control, because the managers are supposed to do tunnel driving. Okay, because they have to drive in a tunnel with a one single faith that other side there's a bright sunlight in a dark. Okay, so outcomes and success criteria is something you need to be tight. Values and standards, you need to be tight. Deadline that genuinely matters, tight. Not everything, but which one that matters. The critical path mein jo hai, that you have to be tight. Where can you be loose? Method. How the other person does it, let him do. Pace. How fast or slow the other person is, we should be able to let him do. Style. I at least in Viva, I see a lot of effort, time we spend too much on the style. Okay, we may not need that kind of a style effort. Different from yours is fine. I mean, so long as the outcome is achieved, how does it matter? Okay, so there are areas where you need to be loose, there are areas where you need to be tight. A good manager who delegates well understands this very well. Okay, and most important, the good managers don't answer. Good managers ask questions that could help them to find it. Give a hint how other person can find a solution. Okay, or share experiences so that other person can customize for the solution. Okay. And last but not the least, you have to let your team members to come and talk to you about their failures or mistakes. If you start pondering on them and shouting on them on their mistake, then they will not come. There is no learning for them. Human nature is to make mistakes. Okay, how do you deduct early and then help them to recover it faster? That's the most important thing in the leadership managerial style. Can we go next one? So how do we create an environment between a manager and subordinate, trustable relationship to remove this micromanagement? First is that confirm the goal first, because we spoke about outcomes. If you are a team member, update before you are being asked. That builds a trust in both the sides. Always bring options, not problems. If you bring an issue, you are putting everybody in dark. With the issue, find a solution, bring it. Okay. Identify who takes a decision. If you are doubtful, uncertain, ask a question. Who's supposed to decide on this? If the manager has to decide on it, go back to him. If you are allowed to take a decision, take it. Okay. Most important thing, at least in many of my cases I follow, is don't bring surprises to me. Slippage is fine, mistakes is fine, tell me early. Last but not the least, you have to build a track record, because your managers or your team members or team's performance is primarily driven based on the track record. These are the 6 simple steps that you can earn as a trust and autonomy. Because the earlier slide I spoke about how a manager should behave. Here I'm talking about if you are a team member, how do you behave? Okay, if both the things if you follow, then probably this right and left will work really well. Okay, go to the next slide. I think that's the last slide. Okay, it's again summing it up with all the things that I spoke about it. So one thing which is very important is that only when the manager and the team members both move together in a sync, when both the sides move, micromanagement has nowhere left to live. Because then there won't be any micromanagement at all. I just want to share my own experience. I had worked with a person for 27 years together. When I joined in PW, then he was a manager, then he became partner first, then I became partner. And we had one unique thing. In the first 2-3 years, we find it hard. But after that, one unique thing. I don't need a briefing from him. He doesn't need a briefing from me. We can go into any meeting and take over work from one to the other. So much of sync, because I exactly know what other person would think. He would exactly know what I would think. He knows my strengths and weaknesses. I know his strengths and weaknesses. I can blindly trust him. He used to blindly trust me. We just on sync, and we did a number of projects together like that. For 27 years, we worked together. Even though, interestingly, after 6 years, I had never reported to him directly. I was reporting to somebody else, but I was working with him all along. Without worrying about any of it. Annabi is not anymore in PwC. He left and joined in Gita Press. I joined with him. Again, now we are together again. So this is an example.
इधर भी ले आइए फिर. बस ये वाला रह गया.
Okay, this is my last slide. Last slide is only a thank you, but I think it's already 6:02. Any questions? Views? Yes, sir.
मे बी सर आप लोगों का ये इस पे अलग पर्सपेक्टिव हो, बट मैं फिर भी एक चीज आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ. इफ आई एम अ गुड मैनेजर, अभी अ गुड लीडर, तो क्या मुझे तब माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत पड़ेगी?
बिल्कुल पड़ेगी. इसलिए एक स्लाइड मैंने दिया था. देयर आर सिचुएशन जिसमें माइक्रो मैनेज करना पड़ता है.
आई एग्री, बट नॉट इन दैट वे ना कि मैं सब कुछ ही उसे बताऊं. अगर मैं एक अच्छा मैनेजर हूं, तो मेरी टीम आके मुझे सारी चीजें खुद बताएगी. दिस इज ए स्किल ऑफ द मैनेजर ना, गुड मैनेजर.
नहीं, खुद बताने की भी जरूरत है ना, कुछ चीजें बताने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. वो समझ लें. बिकॉज इफ आई एम अ गुड मैनेजर, मुझे पता है कि क्या रिलेवेंट इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें मुझे जानने की जरूरत है. जैसे एग्जांपल देता हूँ, आप कितने स्कूल में जा रहे हो, रोज कौन सी स्कूल में, मेरे को जानने की जरूरत नहीं है.
आई एग्री विद योर पॉइंट.
मैं जोनल मैनेजर हो तो, लेकिन मेरे को जरूर जानने की जरूरत है कि कितनी स्कूल में पीरियड्स नहीं है, ढंग से नहीं चल रहा है कोर्स, कौन सी टीचर्स अच्छा काम कर रहा है आप जिसमें विजिट किया है, कौन से टीचर्स बुरा काम कर रहे हैं, कौन सी स्कूल में प्रॉब्लम्स है, वो मुझे जानने की जरूरत है.
आई एग्री विद योर पॉइंट, बट आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट तब नेसेसरी है जब आपको सारी इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं चाहिए. यू आर नॉट फोकसिंग ऑन ऑल द डिटेल्स, यू आर फोकसिंग ओनली दोज डिटेल व्हिच इज नेसेसरी फॉर यू.
माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट तब होता है 3-4 रीजन की वजह से होता है. ये वहीं से वहीं चालू किया था शायद. मैं उस समय आई वाज टॉकिंग फास्ट इन इंग्लिश, अब मिस कर दिए. देखो, एक समय तो ये होता है माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट करने के चालू हो जाता हूँ जब मैं आपको ट्रस्ट नहीं करता हूँ. मुझे ट्रस्ट नहीं है कि आप सही काम कर रहे हो. वो एक हो सकता है. ठीक है. दूसरा चीज हो सकता है कि यार मेरे को फीलिंग है कि ठीक नहीं चल रहा है, बट आई गेट ऑल गुड वाइब्स, गुड
Yeah, I
All
completely
outputs are
agree.
good, but ठीक नहीं चल रहा है. It's like, you know, I won battle. I mean, battle but all battles, but I lost a war. नहीं हो सकता है ना. ऐसे सिचुएशन में भी हो सकता है. लेकिन ये दो आदमियों को बीच का संबंध है.
ट्रस्ट
The
का संबंध है
moment
दोनों.
I have a ability to trust with you, then ये नहीं होता. इसलिए ये जरूरी है कि मैनेजर जो सोच रहा है वो तो एक है. एज अ टीम मेंबर आपने क्या सोचकर क्या किया दूसरे बंदे का डाउट को रिलीव करने में, दोनों की जरूरत है. इसलिए मैंने 2 स्लाइड बनाया. एक तो है कि मैनेजर की तरफ से क्या करना चाहिए, दूसरा है कि एज ए टीम मेंबर मुझे क्या करना चाहिए. ये दोनों करने लगे तो ये ठीक हो जाएगा.
Maybe I am not clear on my question. I will reframe again in some way.
Sir, I have understood Saurav's point. Can I just sir, what he is telling, if I am a good manager, a capable, able, mature manager, अगर मेरा अंडर का टीममेट कच्चा है, वो भी मेरे प्रेजेंस में इंस्टेंटली और वेरी क्विकली ट्रांसफॉर्म करेगा, वो भी अकाउंटेबल बन जाएगा. ये मैनेजर का प्रेजेंस का क्वालिटी है. बट व्हाट शिवराम कृष्ण जी इज टेलिंग, नहीं, वो दोनों हाथ से ताली बजती है. वो उसको हमें माइक्रो मैनेज करना पड़ेगा, उसको कोच करना पड़ेगा, उसे ग्रूम करना पड़ेगा. फर्स्ट 2 लेवल्स में, 3rd लेवल में सपोर्ट और 4th लेवल पे डेलीगेट. अगर मुझे उस टीम का ग्रोथ चाहिए, कैपेसिटी बिल्ड करना है, तो थोड़ा माइक्रो मैनेज इनिशियल्स में करना पड़ेगा. बट एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट विच आई लर्नड इज, डोंट गिव हिम द आंसर्स, क्वेश्चन 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 क्वेश्चन. सो दिस इज माय लर्निंग.
Saurav, it's a very interesting example है. आप फार्मिंग फैमिली से आते हो?
Yes sir, yes.
Are you from the farming family?
Yeah.
जैसे हम ट्री प्लांट करते हैं ना जमीन पे, 2 तरीके के ट्री रहते हैं. एक तो है कि नॉर्मल जो फ्रूट देने वाला, उसको तो आप बहुत बड़ा फैलने की देते हो, है ना. जितने फैले उतने ज्यादा फ्रूट्स आएंगे, इसलिए आप छोड़ देते हो. जैसे मान लीजिए कि आपने टीक वुड का प्लांट करवाया, उस समय क्या करते हो, जैसे जो स्टेम आते हैं काटते जाते हो, क्योंकि आपको फैलना नहीं है, आपको स्ट्रेट ग्रो करना है, सीधा, क्योंकि आपको वुड उतने आएगा ना. तो इसलिए जो भी आप काम कर रहे हैं, सेम चीजें यहाँ पर आपको मैनेजर और टीम मेंबर्स के साथ किसी काम पर, जैसे आप डॉक्टरी के पढ़ रहे हो, वहां पर अब ट्री जैसे फैलने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. उनको तो बिल्कुल इंस्ट्रक्शन बाय इंस्ट्रक्शन ट्रेन करने की जरूरत है.
बिल्कुल.
जैसे हमें पेडागोजी है, उसको कोई ट्री नहीं बना रहा हूं मैं, फ्रूट वाला ट्री नहीं बना रहा हूं. आपको एक 4 स्टेप दिया जाता है, वो 4 को फॉलो करनी है. ठीक है. उस समय तो आपको सिर्फ बिकॉज यू आर मेकिंग अ बिग ट्री फॉर अ वुड, ठीक है, उस सिचुएशन में माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट की जरूरत है. लेकिन आउटसाइड ऑफ पेडागोजी I can let you do what you want to do, you know. So it's a combination. So you have to choose. That is why I'm saying you have to tight on certain things. Compliance, you have to be tight. Lekin you can be loose on how do you comply within the value systems. So as I you have to manage. It's not a 1, 0 or 100. Okay, it is between maybe 30 to 100 depending on the scale. Which area you work, कितने लोग है, कितना एक्सपीरियंस है. रजनी जी,
Yes, Mr. Sivaraman, I would like to give one example. You know, when this COVID started, see, in the COVID, lot of micromanagement was required from the health sector, from the top level, from the ministry, because you see people's competency level and the commitment level in the health, you know, was at a very low level. But the task was extremely important and extremely urgent. We had to control this menace of the COVID. So the micromanagement was done from the top level, from the macro to the micro level. It was required. It was required. So I would like to say here, Saurav, many times it is the task, it is the requirement of the task, it is the urgency of the task also which determines that micromanagement is required. But I would like, if I can add up here something, Mr. Sivaraman, from my experience, that two dimensions are very important when we talk about leadership growth and micromanagement: competency and commitment. If your team people are highly committed and highly competent, very talented people you have, and like ma'am said, her son has studied in IIT, very competent, very committed, then for such people, the leader, the manager has to be very conscious and aware not to use micromanagement. But the people who are, their competency level is low and commitment is also not very high, yes, it is required to an extent that you let the people grow. Once the people grow, then the micromanagement has to be, withdrawn. So I think situation is extremely important when we say micromanagement, because this is the mantra that many organizations use: competency and commitment model. Thank you, Mr. Sivaraman.
Rita ji, then we'll conclude.
I just would like to add a little bit here. So, as Rajni ma'am said, and Saurabh was having some doubts. So, you know what I felt, Shivram ji, after hearing from you, see, micromanagement is unconsciously also people are doing it out of their own context, out of their own fear, insecurity. They feel threatened also that samne wala person will take over me, something like that. I felt from the conversation of whenever my youngster, my son, they are asking me some kind of discussion takes place, then I use my own mind and I feel that no, it is because they are feeling insecure, they are threatened. So they are ignoring you or they are micromanaging you. In both the cases, it's like that. Micromanagement क्यों करता है? And it is breathing through your nose. So why? मतलब, if I am drinking water, also they are observing. That means something is wrong somewhere. And what happens as a result of this? They lose a good guy. They lose an efficient person, as Rajni ma'am said that. Okay, so this is my understanding.
Sure. I think Anuradha, Rita ma'am, you also raised hand.
यस सर, मैं पूछना चाहती थी, क्या हम इस सेशन को माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट बोल सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल बोल सकते हैं, बिकॉज इट्स नेचुरल है, किसी को होना चाहिए. सिंस ये डाउट आए हैं इसलिए एक सेशन कर रहे हैं. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, एक्सपीरियंस शेयरिंग कैन नेवर बी माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट. इफ आई गिव यू अ सेट ऑफ रूल्स कि सेशन के बाद आप रोज सुबह ये 4 चीजें करो, देन मैं माइक्रो मैनेज कर रहा हूँ. If you are sharing the perspective in both the sides, you may not say that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anuradha?
Yeah, hi, Shiva. I just wanted to add that, I mean, it's situational, no doubt about it, but there's an element of trust. So when you establish that you're trustworthy, apart from being competent and whatever, so I think the element of trust is a very big factor here. So even you can win over a micromanager if he or she learns to trust you.
In fact, Anuradha, 80% is a trust issue.
Yeah.
It is only 20% is a facts. More 80% of the issues are
Yes,
trust related.
absolutely.
That's the reason I wrote both the sides need to work
Personal
together.
chemistry, actually.
Yeah. Avantika?
Good evening, sir. So, I want to ask that when we talk about micromanagement, in terms of, when you are for your kids, like when you are, I don't know if we put it as micromanagement.
We can't
but
hear
if
you.
are, in
Avantika, we can't
Can
hear
you-
you well. Its voice is breaking.
Okay, how's it now? Can you
Yeah,
hear
now
me?
it's better.
Okay. I wanted to ask, when we're talking about looking after our children, okay, now when we are concerned about their work, how they do it in school, and in that case, do we put it as micromanagement? Because when the kids are small, you need to actually micromanage. So in that case, is it right to be, in everything that they do, every little thing micromanage, or how do you create a balance? How do you put it rather?
I think, Avantika, the micromanagement is not a instance by instance. It's a portfolio. Okay. Every team situation, in some situations, in some instinctive areas, you do give instructional led activity. Okay, then there will be some element where you're doing a coaching led activity. There are some element you're doing it.
So I think who's frozen?
Delegated fully. One is that in certain tasks, okay, certain tasks I may continue to micromanage, but that is okay. But as a portfolio, am I taking the competence of the other person to deliver? For instance, in our kids, I can understand we need to micromanage the first time if somebody is trying to do something. Are you allowing it to coach him the next time he or she does it themselves? It's a question mark. Then you are moving into coaching. A third time, you don't micromanage. If you want to give example our own life, we feed our kids maybe till few years. After that, we mix food and keep the plate in front of them to eat. After a few years, we just let it go. Isn't it? So that is what it is. It's a task plus the person. By instinctively we do. There is no, it's not that the skill we don't have that skill. We have that skill in us. But the situations outside of our own family secure environment, we ended up having another dimension. The dimension is responsibilities. Okay. So when I mix that with the new responsibilities, which is outside of your own control, and there's a supervisor, your reaction differs. How do you balance? Like at home, there's no supervisor. In fact, I jokingly want to say that I see that with my mother-in-law. She lives with me. So if I have to deal with my daughter, when my mother-in-law is around, there's a one style. When my mother-in-law is not around, there's another style within me. Okay, I see that very naturally. So that is the same thing happens in work. I have manager, I have bosses. There's one style. If they're not, I become boss is another style. But the question is, do I get this experiences, positive experience for other person? If I am I helping him to grow so that it eases my work? End of the day, if the other person does really well, it reduces my work actually. Instead of adding to that. That's a mix that you need to have. It applies to our kids as well. But I can tell you as a parent, by nature, human being are given this is a gifted quality by the God. It's same thing. It's a manifestation of perfection in us. In this too, as Swamiji said. Just that we need to kindle that and then put it together.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I know it's already 20 minutes.
I'll just add little bit here I'll just add with your permission little bit with Avantika ma'am. Sometimes it's not micromanaging what she considers herself with the children. It's protective instinct of a mother to protect the children when they're very young. Hedging is required. Okay, but when they go to college, when they are in teenager, so that time, if you micromanage, I think there is, there is going to be a war at home. So that time, one has to understand, as Shivramanji said, that we have to have a mix of both. We should know that time with our Viveka, okay, what kind of behavior I should have towards my teenagers now. So that is what is my opinion, sir, after hearing your micromanagement things and all that. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Over to person who's I forgot his name, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
रवि, सॉरी, रवि।
सर थैंक यू सो मच सर आज के सेशन के लिए। आज का सेशन सर माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट से हम सब लोग ये समझ पाए कि सर माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट हम लाइफ के सभी सेक्टर में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, रिक्वायरमेंट है माइक्रो इस मैनेजमेंट का। तो आपका आज हम ये भी जान पाए कि सर माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट का गडिंग आपने जो एग्जांपल लिया था कि मैनेजर बेस्ट मैनेजर आपके हिसाब से क्या होता है, तो वो भी हम माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट के माध्यम से समझ पाए। फिर हमने ये समझ पाए सर इस आज के सेशन से कि माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट से कौन कौन से एरियाज हैं जिसमें हम माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट का अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, उसको हम अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। और ये माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट जो है ये ऐसा नहीं कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लेवल पे या मैनेजर लेवल पे ही होता है, ये बहुत दोनों लेवल पे होता है, जो एम्प्लॉय लेवल पे प्लस हमारा मैनेजर लेवल पे होता है। तो थैंक यू सो मच, माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट सेशन में हम काफ़ी कुछ सीख पाए। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर पूरी विवाह टीम की ओर से आज के सेशन के लिए। हम सर प्रणाम मंत्र से आज के सेशन का वाइंड अप करेंगे। किसी को कुछ कहना है आप सभी? ओके, तो ओम जननीं शारदा देवी रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादे पद्मे त्रियो सत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः।
Thank you, Shiva sir.
Thank you, Shivaraman sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you,
was
sir.
really eye-opening and we could connect with all the things. Thank